Hey everybody, Phoenixman 1015 coming at you guys for part 19 of my pre-algebra tutorial. In the last part I taught you guys about the commutative property, quick commutative property, associative property, identity property, inverse property, and zero property to addition and multiplication. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time going over this, but I would like to just mention it. Commutative means you can move, so move the additions, move the add-ins around, or move the factors around. If you know your if you know your terms. Associative property, basically you can put parentheses around each add-ins, or you can put parentheses around each factor. It doesn't matter what order, doesn't matter which ones, you will always get the same answer. Identity property of addition means if you add 0 to any number, you're always going to get that number. If you multiply by 1 to any number, you're always going to get that number. The inverse property means if you add the negative of a number, you're going to get 0, and that's going to negate that. But if you're going for multiplication, you're going to go for 1 over a. So you're going to take the number, put it beneath the 1 in a fraction, and that'll cancel these two out, leaving you with just 1. And the zeroth property means a plus 0 will get you a, whereas a times 0 will get you 0. So as you can see, the identity and 0, like I said before, are identical in addition, but as you can see, not in multiplication. Now, this is probably the most important lesson that I'm going to teach you guys in all this pre-algebra that we're going to share together. You guys have grown up so fast. If you recall, we were working with solving equations, two-step equations, and I guess this would be an example of one. You might be confused right now as to what you should exactly do about this scenario right here. If I could told you this answer was to be solved, you might be confused was what to do about this, because we've been only working where like you just have to subtract something. It looks a little bit too complex. Well, for that scenario, we're gonna go and use something I like to call the distributive property. I don't like to call it. It's actually the name, so I'm not joshing you out of a proper education or nothing. And basically, the best way I could show this to you is a times b plus c equals ab plus ac. So the distributive property basically means you're going to take this number outside the parentheses, and you're going to push it into this number and multiply it by this number, and then you're going to keep the sign in the middle. So let's say it was a times b minus c. What will we do? Well, we're going to want to take this in here, AC, and then we're going to keep the middle, this sign right here. We're going to want to bring that right here. So it'd be AB minus AC. Now let me throw a little curveball at you. Let's say it was negative A times B plus C. What will we do? Well, we're going to take this entire number, including the negative sign. You always want to include the negative sign. We're going to put it into B, so it's going to be AB, negative AB, and then we're going to keep the middle sign, times, plus negative AC. And then this will obviously change into negative AB minus AC because we're running into subtraction, negative AB minus AC, and that'll be your answer. So let's say we had negative A times B minus C. Let's do this again. So it'll be negative AB, and then negative A times C, which would be negative AC, and then we're going to keep the middle sign. These are going to both turn into positive, so we're going to get negative AB plus AC. Let's look at that one more time. So let's say we had, what do we have there? Negative A times B minus C. This is why rewriting and subtraction will save you a little bit of time, because while we can't really do much with the first one, we're basically going to multiply this, and we're going to treat this as if it's saying B plus negative C. Every time you see a negative sign there, treat it as if it's saying B plus negative C. It'll save you a lot of work. And then you're going to want to do A, and then you're going to keep that middle sign, because now it becomes that middle sign's right there, but you're also multiplying two negatives, and as you learned in Unit 2, when you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. So we got the same answer regardless, depending on what way we did it. All right, so that's all peachy and happy. But let's say we had actual equation. 2 times x plus 2. Well, the distributive property says that we're going to want to do the first one, which means we're going to get 2 times x, which becomes 2x. And don't worry, as soon as we're done with this we're going to go into multiplying and adding monomials and all that good stuff. So you're going to get some really thorough knowledge on how to do this 2 times x stuff. Remember, 2 times x is basically 2x. And then 2 times 2 is 4, middle sign, 2x plus 4. So that was the answer to that. 2 times x plus 4 equals 2x plus 4. Let's go for 4 times x minus 3. Well, we do 4x, we keep the middle sign, then 4 times 3 is 12. That's your answer. One more. Let's do one more. Let's do negative 4 times x plus 2. X plus negative 2. Heck, let's make it a negative x. Make it a little bit more difficult. Let's say we had this negative 4, so we're going to keep this negative 4 with it. Negative 4 times negative x. 2 negatives becomes positive 4x. We're going to keep the middle sign, as always stated. Negative 4 times negative 2, that becomes positive 8. So then our answer became 4x plus 8. And now I bet you probably are thinking that this is a lot of baloney and this isn't going to work. But let me just tell you that I'm going to prove it to you right now. Let's say x is equal to 3. Let's solve it out the long way. 3 plus 2. We're going to substitute like that. Then we get 2 times 5. And then we're going to get 10. But let's say we did it the other way. 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 2 is 4. And we still get 10. So as you can see, this method indeed does work. And it's good because it means that we can further simplify our equations when given it to us in this form. You're going to see this a lot in pre-algebra. And more importantly, we can now solve this equation. So the first step is going to want to be to use a distributive property. So we're going to want to do 2x minus 6. Remember, see what I did there? I multiplied this first, and then I took the middle sign, and then I multiplied these two. So 2x minus 6, and then 8. Now this looks like an ordinary two-step equation. Let's solve it. Add 6 to both sides. Remember SADMEP, subtraction and addition first. So these are going to cancel out. Remember, this is actually 6. This is actually twisted way of saying the identity or zero property of addition, and it's pretty cool actually. To see that that's where they got that from, that logic actually. So 8 plus 6 is going to equal 14, and then we're going to want to bring our 2x down. We haven't isolated it yet, so then we get our answer to be 7. And that's pretty peachy. Let's do another one. Let's do a little bit more complex one actually. Let's have negative 2 times negative x plus 4 equals negative 14. Now, real quickly, before I begin, I just want to let you guys know that there is a quicker way to solve this than using the distributive property. If you just divide the entire, you haven't learned this yet, but if you just divide the entire side out by negative 2, you're gonna cancel these two out, and then you're gonna get negative x plus 4 equals 7, and then you want to do negative x equals 3, so x equals negative 3. I think I did that right. I kind of did kind of fast though. And while that is a viable method, I am teaching you the distributive property for a reason, because sometimes it's really intensive to have to do that. Just letting you know, in case your teachers taught you a different way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just ignore it. I basically just said that you're basically doing some factoring work. We're going to get into that. You'll learn that eventually. Alright, so let's do the distributive property. Negative 2 times negative x. Well, two negatives make a positive, so that'd be positive 2x. Negative, and we're going to keep the middle sign, obviously. Negative 2 plus negative 2 times 4. It's positive, so positive and negative make a negative. It's going to be a negative answer. What's 2 times 4? It'd be 8. And then we get negative 14. Now, at this point, we're going to want to rewrite this into subtraction, so we get a little bit more of a familiar type of equation. I'm getting my calculator out because I don't feel like doing this math. Negative 14 plus 8. We're going to add beta to both sides. So we get negative 14 plus 8 equals negative 6 equals 2x, and then we divide by 2 on both sides, and then we get negative 3. So as you can see, these were both right ways to do this. You could do this thing. So this basically wraps up our properties of real numbers. I did an intro at the beginning, and we just learned that distributive property is a times b plus c equals ab plus ac. You're basically distributing this constant, or this monomial rather, as you're going to start learning. And you're basically just distributing this to both terms and keeping the sign in the middle. Trying to think what else I can really do with this. One last thing before I go. Let's say you had this long term. By the way, if this was a normal number, not a negative sign, you just multiply all the numbers get the number. All the numbers get the all the numbers inside the parentheses get the constant. So let's say we just had a negative number in front of here. What do you think we'd do? Well, if you recall, by having just a negative there, we're really just saying -1, but since we don't really write 1 as a coefficient in algebra, we're really just leaving that as blank. So basically, we're going to want to multiply each of these numbers by a -1. But a simple way of thinking about multiplying each number by -1 is just changing the sign, because as we learned, you're really just doing the identity property, but adding a negative sign, which would change the sign regardless. So, I mean, multiplying by -1 will always change this sign. So instead of taking the time and thinking about it, just whenever you see a negative sign, just change the sign of each number. So we're going to want to make -x, okay, we're going to make -3, and then we're going to want to make -2. You think that worked? I believe it did. So whenever you see a negative in front of something, always distribute it throughout. So that becomes -x plus 3 minus 2. We're changing the sign. We're multiplying by -1, so we're going to keep the same value, although we're going to change the sign. I'm just going to change the charge, because changing the sign over and over again, it does kind of get a little bit repetitive. So we've basically finished Chapter 1, which was basically an intro, Chapter 2, which dealt with negative numbers, Chapter 3, or whatever order, Chapter 3, which dealt with two-step equations, and we just finished Chapter 4, which dealt with properties of real numbers. Next up, we're going to want to start dealing with monomials, and this is where pre-algebra gets to the real bulk and dexterity of everything, but I feel like you guys will be fine because you guys know all your properties of real numbers. Or do you? Again, it's really important that you guys can relay, like, just understand what I'm doing, like, understand how the properties work. Don't memorize the names if you don't have to, but you're going to want to memorize, like, what they do and how they're important. So if you don't understand them, just rewatch my videos, like, just once or twice more, and I'm positive you guys will get it. You guys are pretty smart. I have faith in all of you. I love all of you. Caveman, Phoenixman saying goodbye until part 19, where we start working with monomials. That'll be fun. See you guys.